Welcome to Unity Life, Sacred Teachings and Mystery School.
Welcome to the 16 Keys Support Tool. These are valuable concept models. Like a prototype, a concept model is a work of art designed to help you clarify what is best or what is realistic. In 2017, I witnessed a series of incredible miracles. I saw a candle manifest out of thin air right before my eyes, as well as a lighter. The right half of my jade plant disintegrated into a shriveled, dry husk in about 3 seconds, and my ears and lips dramatically changed shape and size in the mirror, then changed back. In response to these life-changing events, I developed these models of how miracles would work out globally without conflict or destruction if this amazing potential of the nature of reality was freely released. Hi, and welcome to Key 11, Simulated People. The longer version of this title was previously Master Creatorship, Bard of Life Forms. The ability to create entirely detailed, mythic human lives, or various animal and plant lives, as sacred collective imagination. So today I'm wearing my Marilyn Manson shirt, which says, "Once you've inhaled death, everything else is perfume," and it has some diamonds on it. See? And I'm wearing it because Marilyn Manson was one of my main inspirations about this key when I first created it. This kind of simulated reality is a complete sensory fabrication within the mind, created by miracles of incredible DNA code, which affects the entire mind-body sensory perception. The viewer of the simulation, if they do not already have Key 4 established, they would think that they're interacting with the person in real life, because it would be just as realistic a simulation as real life itself. It may as well be called real life itself, when in fact they are not really going through those interactions of physical activities such as talking to the person, shaking their hand, etc. With the ultimate level of Key 4 establishment, there would be no perceptual illusions. So instead, this would be an imaginative witnessing of creation with the power of Key 5 likely as well to help the visualization. These simulations would not be created with any kind of VR technology or devices whatsoever. And it is not about robots or fake models of people in that definition of the word simulation. However, with this ability, any technology would be theoretically possible without having to actually invent it. So we could have simulations of realistic robot people who are just as conscious as human life, exactly as depicted in the show Westworld HBO. In Westworld HBO, some of the robot people turn out to be simulations of reality. Watching Westworld is actually an incredible way to visualize the depth of the people actually created this way with Key 11. However, on the other hand, it also describes every possible ethical problem that could ever come up, none of which would actually happen with this ethical key. This is a concept model of doing it right. It's very interesting to use the show that way as a tool to understand what wouldn't be. And it's just evocative and beautiful to understand ourselves beyond likely limitations that you could imagine coming up through shows like that.
We were interested in the idea of simulations, interested in the idea of different levels of reality, and very interested in the idea that if you could create a digital simulation of reality that was compelling and realistic enough that it was indistinguishable from reality, then would it matter if it wasn't the base level of reality?
Transmission received. Transmission received.
I also like the notion that if you had a persistent simulated reality that was completely indistinguishable from reality, that was encrypted, that you would have essentially created an alternate universe with no transit back and forth.
This key, it truly is the ability to weave collective mythic art of the imagination to share with the collective in stunning, majestic detail and quality down to the complete spiritual and DNA information of a person regarding people, not to mention animals, plants, and the ecology who do not exist, yet they have compelling relevance to those who do. The level of detail of these ethical and evolutionary creations of simulated people are limited only by the abilities of the audience's mind to perceive them. So, I hope that you've enjoyed Key 11, Simulated People. Please definitely leave me a note or a comment to let me know what you think of this. Could you imagine this concept model ever coming true in the future? And give me a like or anything just to let me know that you care. Thanks. Hello and welcome to Key 12, Simulated Places. The longer version of this key title used to be Master Creatorship, Bard of Realms, the ability to create imaginal worlds, featuring also real usable resources as sacred collective mythos. But I had to shorten it, so there are two different ways to contemplate this key, and the two come together into one eventually the more you think about it. First of all, the surrounding environment of simulated people as covered in Key 11. And second of all, simulated realities regarding the Earth as a whole, out of context with specifically individual people. Starting with information about the environment and the ecology surrounding people, we must consider that a human being has a very significant impact on the environment around them as a consumer of not only products, but ecological resources, which must be kept track of. Also, it's no small thing that humans are using space, not only in their homes, but in the landfills. The only solution to simulations unethically taxing the environment by taking too much is to program in, so to speak, unrealistic properties to the simulations of the surrounding environment. For example, like automatically replenishing resources such as the beautiful mythic eternal spring that never runs out. Say they were taking from the environment, but there were no consequences. Thanks to keys 7, 8, 14, 15, and 16, there would be ways to create a true ecological utopia so that these simulations are not creating dissociation in human psychology, like fostering a dream to live in a simulation rather than to live in reality. Also, Key 4 would ensure ultimately healthy human psychology as well, but at the same time, it is best combined with real addressing of these serious ecological issues. So, when it comes to addressing the entire Earth as a whole, rather than addressing just the surrounding environment and effects of people who are simulated, with the fullest of extrapolation theory, the only reasonable logical conclusion seems to be that this miracle has already taken place long ago in order to prevent ecological disaster. A simulated place could act as a shield, a layer of protection, or a garment in order to take on the illusions and bad activities against the environment so that the real biological form doesn't have to. What if God, in all its benevolence and love for life, actually originally created that any dystopia would play itself out upon a simulation rather than a reality? This would really validate some of the TV shows and movies that have come out discussing the topic about a global simulation theory. A whole entire simulated world that cannot be distinguished from the real thing, where only once humanity has evolved itself to the level of evolution in which it would totally respect life, can it actually perceive real life. This is just a very basic version of this idea as an introduction today. If this were the case, the utopian simulations mentioned earlier, which would cover for simulated people using the environmental resources, would be not less realistic, but actually more realistic than others. So that would mean that this paradigm would alter the simulations in the right direction until eventually the entire Earth is no longer having any simulations at all, and simulations match the exact Earth, so technically they don't exist. This feels like the ultimate goal of where all this level of creation would be headed. Kind of like a D&D fantasy, you would say that there has to be an ultimate ending to the story, ideally. And I think the most poignant to great art and true infinite majesty creation would be for the simulations to end completely when they're all resolved in the story. So, thank you so much for checking out this key. I'm really happy that you joined me for this interesting talk, and please comment any of your ideas. I look forward to hearing from you in the community. Have a beautiful day.